Welcome everybody to another Talks with Dave. These are highlights on my calendar because you always bring a perspective that we don't get every day in the profession through other means. So, quick introduction to who you are, Dave.
Yeah, well, Dave McComb. I'm a fourth generation undertaker, and I'm the owner of Eagles Wings Air and Inman Shipping and Travel Plan by Inman. Been in the business long time. I love it. Got a lot of colleagues in the business. That's why I never want to leave it, because that's what I call my funeral fam.
You're a legend, a legend. All
I don't
right.
know.
Well, you and I were talking off camera about some interesting statistics, and so give me just an update on things that are happening in the shipping world because we don't get a lot of information on that, and there's a lot of shifting that's been going on.
Yeah. Um, I went through Jake Johnson's study. He does a performance tracker. Many funeral homes run it around the country. There's other guys that do surveys out there, but Jake's is pretty thorough. It's based on 264,000 different respondents over quite a period of time, like between 2011 2021. And there's kind of good news and bad news in this, because the survey in most recent years goes across the pandemic. So some of it's kind of explained by that. But dissatisfaction in all categories in 2019, 20, 21, and 22, it's been down. So our satisfaction rate was higher prior to the pandemic than it was after. You think that might be kind of noticeable because of all the trauma and so forth that's in the middle of it. But interestingly enough, the part of it, of the satisfaction rate that fell the most, was in the shipping arena. Of course, and that's of course what we do, and there's a couple reasons for that. One of which, the airlines were gutted during the pandemic, and they're just now still licking their wounds and getting things put back together. And so delays and so forth probably worked into the satisfaction rate, complications, misconnections, and so forth. And that's probably where a lot of it happened. But there's Inman Shipping out there, that we have people on the phone doing this every day. Eagles Wings Air is on top of the shipping schedules, when routes change, when routes are eliminated. And so we have a great way to navigate through all the complication of what's been going on in the airline industry, that definitely has gone to the dissatisfaction of the shipping experience for the consumer.
Which is interesting. I mean, we don't think about that, the death side of it, when we think about flight delays and schedule changes. And if anybody flies a lot, then they've had to realize, like you say, the gutting of the schedules. Yeah, like the opportunities to get direct flights, easy flights, like are very, very difficult, especially if you're going cross country. So, what
Yep.
are some things that funeral professionals can do to try to, one, mitigate dissatisfaction in shipping and just make their job and their role that they play in that process easier?
Yeah, me being a funeral director, I understand that funeral directors want to please the family that they serve, and they want to reassure them about the whole process of what's taking place. And so, that being said, I would suggest to not give the family unrealistic expectations about when the body's going to be coming back into town for ceremony. Because if you tell somebody, well, hey, the body's going to be back, on Wednesday, and it doesn't show up till Thursday, guess what? You're now behind the eight ball, and you're going to have to catch up. So don't set a service time before you get a flight schedule, and making sure those things are nailed down. Just because the family wants a service on Saturday doesn't mean the body's going to show up in time for it. So I want to please people as well, but we also have to be realistic. So make sure you give the family the real feedback on this. Don't set a service time with the clergy. Don't set a service time with anybody until we have a signed death certificate and a proper flight schedule.
So in that, Inman and Eagles Wings Air are making this process much easier for funeral homes and handling really all of it. What advice would you have if a funeral home's not using Inman or Eagles Wings Air and they are shipping?
Yeah.
Like what
Well,
what
yeah, one of the reasons that we're seeing an increase in business is because of a couple of factors that are going on in funeral service today. Number one is the labor issue. To find good funeral directors is very difficult, and, and people are figuring out it's a heck of a lot easier to spend 90 seconds on the phone with Eagles Wings Air and giving them the particulars of a flight, rather than spending 2 or 3 hours on the phone in the afternoon being on hold and trying to reserve space. So, let us go to work for you. This is an outside expense. This doesn't impact your bottom line. You pay basically the same as what you pay with the airlines. We're going to find you better connections. And if something happens, we have the cell phone numbers to the head of every cargo of the leading airlines there. So if we get an issue that happens, of say a body didn't make a connection in Atlanta, we're on the phone with the leaders of the cargo division. We have those connections because we do thousands and thousands of shipments every year, and they want our business. And so you can take advantage of them wanting our business by calling us.
I love it. I love it. All right. So as we move into 2024, we're wrapping up 2023, which in a lot of cases across the profession has been a tough year for a lot of firms. What advice do you have moving into a new year and transitioning out of this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say keeping your website up to date, making sure it's active, it's interactive, put video on it. I mean, you preach that all the time, Ryan, and that's such a good thing. So when you click on, take a video tour of the funeral home, have the owner or a manager say some positive things about the funeral home, make yourself, humanize your website a little bit. And then I tell you what's so cool now versus back 20 years ago, cemeteries typically had the first touch to families in the pre-need arena, but now social media and anything on the internet gives you the opportunity to be the first connection with the family. And because normally the family bought a cemetery space first on the way past, and now they can get online and they can interact with your company, and they can start as small as buying a travel plan by Inman, and $450. And man, now you have a great lead in to having a pre-need funded funeral on your books. And what a beautiful way to get started. And you make and it's not as expensive as a gray space. So people stick their toe in the water with that. An awesome opportunity.
You're so right. There's one thing that we say to a lot of clients, and we preach pretty heavily. Every funeral home wants to be the best, and that's great. And being the best is wonderful, but being best known is better than being best, because you could be the best, but if you don't get the business, nobody knows that you're the best. And all the things that you're talking about are about being known, being aware. People have to know that you exist and what you do for you to have the opportunity to then be the best. If you don't serve them, they don't know that you're the best. So great advice there. And you mentioned travel plan by Inman. Anything that you want to say on that? Like I love just that quick tie-in with that is a lead driver. Honestly, it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, and it's two things in there. Guess what? The price of funerals, the funeral values are not keeping up with inflation. So this gives you the opportunity to put something into the mix that's going to be a revenue producer, and two, it's going to give you the opportunity to make a little extra commission to help retain your sales staff. And man, I tell you, going forward without a good pre-need effort out there, it's unfortunately it's down to picking each other's pocket. If in a marketplace, you're fighting for market share, do that all the time. So if you're the first one out there making the connection, travel plan, great way to do it. Make a little extra commission. Our travel plan backed by insurance. As far as I know, it's the only one backed by insurance, and we have the fulfillment network. So you're not getting multiple parties involved in this transaction. just one party. That's us.
Love it. Love it. I love travel plans simply from the like as a marketer, I'm like, this is such an easy conversation starter.
Yeah.
Most people travel, most people drive 75 miles away from their home multiple times a week. And it just makes it makes so much sense. There's been so
Yeah.
many opportunities, you know, just in casual conversation with friends. We had a family friend that passed away in another country, and yeah, it's been a nightmare for that family to
Yeah.
get the body back and the cost of it. And you know, we talked about travel plans, and then like
Yeah.
I had no idea this existed. So the ability for a funeral home to lead with that, I think it's a marketing advantage. To me, everything's a marketing play, but I think that there's great opportunities to create content around that. And again, it gives you something else as a funeral home, as a pre-need person to have a conversation about and to create around. So
Yeah.
great stuff, Dave. Well, I appreciate your willingness to, you know, we're on pace for about once a quarter we get to connect like this.
Yeah.
I'd like to make it more because it's always good insight. Oh look, see,
Thought I'd bring
like
my hat along since
we
you
need
have
to get
hats.
you. We got to get
I
you a
can put a
custom
cool hat.
melon with a Inman logo on it. You
Yeah,
know,
well,
that's pretty
got
dope. Looking good.
yeah.
I
So,
like it.
it's
There
hard
you
to keep up
go.
with you, brother, but anyways, I brought it along.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you, sir. Thank you so much.
Likewise.
Have a wonderful Thanksgiving and a Merry
Yeah,
Christmas.
giving to you as well.